Welcome to Dentology, the Business of Dentistry podcast. In this podcast, we delve into the non-clinical aspects of dentistry with inspirational guests from across the profession. You will hear incredible life stories, pick up valuable business tips and be entertained. I'm Andy Acton and I'm joined by my co-host, Chris Evans. Wow.
Fascinating.
What a conversation. Who'd have thought?
Compare and contrast thing.
I was just about to say, who'd have thought that different countries have so many similarities? We've had it before when we looked at the comparison between the UK and Canada, but I find it remarkable that dentistry operates in a very similar way in the UK and Germany as well.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's similar, but also different in the fact of the number of dentists is amazing.
Yeah,
number of dental schools, number of practices. It's like larger, but in population size, it's not that much larger.
And the funding and the support for those rural practices. And when Christian was saying how actually you get more patients available to you.
You make more money in rural areas.
In those locations than in the cities where there were fewer patients per dentist.
Yeah.
No, it was really remarkable.
I thought it was great.
He's done so well. He's got such a broad range of services. And it's just fascinating to hear about the other market.
Yeah. And you know what? He's a nice guy as well.
Really nice guy.
No, well worth a listen.
Yeah. And if you enjoy Dentology, please do subscribe because there's new episodes coming every week. Thank you very much. So today we're very fortunate. We're joined by Christian Henrici, and Christian is the founder of Opti Health Consultancy in Germany, which is the largest dental consultancy in Germany.
Impressive.
Very impressive. Hello, Christian. How are you doing?
Hey, guys. How are you?
Yeah,
Thanks
very
for
good.
me.
No, thanks for joining us. I'm really
pleasure.
excited to have the conversation today because obviously we're UK-based. Most of our listeners are UK-based, and I think sometimes because we're an island and we have water that goes around us, it's easy to spend time just looking at your space and where you are. And I think that to get the experience of what you do in Germany and kind of compare and contrast how our different worlds operate will be a fascinating conversation. But before we get to that, we need to find out a bit about you and your background. So can we get a bit of background on you, your childhood? It just gives us some context for what's going to be a great conversation.
So first about me and then about the Brexit?
Or?
Yeah, Brexit.
That's fine. We can edit that bit out. That's fine.
That's fine. However, I did see today, did you see the thing today of how much money that there's a big levy, I don't know if you'd read about it, but there's a big levy going to be on the European Union. It's like billions and billions of dollars because they need to fund something.
Oh, really?
So there was this big thing of finally Brexit, UK, you don't have to pay this bill.
That's one of the things.
It's 57 billion, I think it was the bill that's going to be passed down. So there you go. Look at that. Don't you love it?
The numbers I see is that it's 100 billion missing in the growth of the UK economy every year due to your lost approach to the European market. So it's pretty expensive, I guess.
Yeah, I think it is. I don't think anyone, I mean, I know we're getting a bit political. I don't think really anyone in the UK actually ever believed it was going to happen. And I don't know if you know this, but one of the most searched terms after the vote was what is the EU? And it's like, that's a little bit late, boys. You should have probably thought about that before you voted. So I think it took him on by surprise.
I think you're right. I think a lot of people, it was a misunderstood protest vote, and they didn't quite, as you say, I don't think they quite thought that it was going to happen. And it was an incredibly close vote as well. And I find it quite remarkable that when you're measuring something at less than 1 percentage point, it has such a profound impact for generations to come. There wasn't a recount or there wasn't a buffer that said there has to be a vote. It has to be by at least 3%, 5%, whatever it might have been. I find it quite remarkable, but we are where we are.
I say we are, and here we are.
I think it's very easy to upset the people with very easy terms. It's always the same playbook. We know the playbook in Germany as well, and as you know, and I think you will find very few people who does more harm to the UK than Nigel Farage. So it's after all, I miss the United Kingdom. I adore the United Kingdom. I was a very early fan of the United Kingdom because I think your role in the European Union was always very, very clever and in the history of Europe. French and Germany and the Netherlands, they all 300, 400 years, they fight each other through the landscape. And the Brits, they conquer the ocean, they conquer the world, they were everywhere. But they say, okay, you guys in the bin in Europe, do whatever you want. It's not our war, and you were very, very clever. And I think you did a very good job, 400 or 500 years, and you reached out to every region in the world, and you. With Adam Smith, you started the Industrial Revolution. You bring wealth to the world. So I think there's a lot of plus points until the Brexit. You get your credits for it.
Yeah, and ultimately we are all joined up. You know, whether it's for a European Union or not, we do all live together on the same planet. Everything's interlinked. So whilst that kind of there's the end of that union. It's nice that people can continue to have relationships and trade without that. But yeah, it was an interesting time in the UK for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So anyway, back to you.
Yeah, so let's take us back to back to your childhood. How did you get brought up, Christian?
I hoped I could go through that.
So you're trying to avoid that one, yeah.
No, I was now grown up in Germany, and I went to the United States, to Atlanta. I worked for the German-American Chamber of Commerce, and we helped small and mid-sized German companies to enter the market in the southern United States. And back then, I met some big dental companies like Patterson, Henry Schein, and I met some dentists, and I was in a treatment at a dentist, and I was wondering, this guy is wearing a suit. I knew the dentists in Germany, they were all white, and it was there was no picture on the wall. It was just very clean, and in the United States it was like a little bit more entertaining, much more expensive, and everything was great. And I say, okay, there's so many differences. It's they ask me if I want to brighten up my teeth. They ask me if I want to do this and that, and so on and so on and so on. And back at home, I knew my dentist as, okay, I have an injury, or I have I feel some pain in my tooth, and I go to the dentist. So I said, okay, I could maybe do an arbitrage on that knowledge. So I try to gain some knowledge in the United States. I went back to Germany, hired with a German software company for dentists. And developed a dental practice management program. The program became the market leader in Germany with more than 13,000 units installed. We have 45,000 dentists in Germany, also 45,000 dentists who are self-employed in a practice, and at all there are 70,000 dentists in Germany. So
wow.
That was back 2004, 2005, and 2006. I founded my consultant company, and we developed the consultant company through from quality management, process management, hygiene management, practice founding, practice selling, and so on. So we try to cover the whole process of a practice. And we always try to find some new things, try to develop some new software to help the dentist to be more efficient. So my goal is overall to make the dentist more productive, more efficient. And we have a big problem to find new employees. We have labor shortage in Germany as well. It's a horror in the dental practice right now. And what we always try to do is to fasten up the processes, to make the practice more, to help the practice making more revenues with less cost. Let's easily say with less staff involved to help the staff to be more efficient, to know more tools, to try to use more new tools and give them more education. In Germany, from 230,000 dental employees, just 10% of them are educated, have a further education. So it's a big gap, it's a big lack of information and education. And this is the reason why overall the dental market hasn't grown their productivity in 20 to 30 years.
Wow.
And this is the market where we work in.
Wow.
Did Germany suffer like the UK has in the post-COVID? I think we lost what they reckon 1.5 million people just stopped working, and it wasn't to do with immigration and people returning to Europe. It was just like people, I think they were saying mainly in their 50s, just decided they weren't going to go and work again. Is that the same experience of Germany, that you sort of, these people have just disappeared from the workforce because they didn't want to work anymore?
Yeah, exactly. Normally, we knew out of a big crisis that the people used to work longer. So you see a big crisis, you say, the people say normally, okay, I need to save my money. So it's a good idea to work some more years.
It's almost a bit like the Depression, wasn't it? The Depression of the 1920s. People worked their way out of the Depression.
Exactly. Yeah. And we have so many problems in our history, like 1945, the Weimar Republic, 1920, and so on and so on. And in all this crisis, and even in the oil crisis in the 70s and some other depressions, economy depressions, the people used to work longer. And now it's the first crisis where we see the opposite. We see that the people went out of the market, were 63 or 62, and say, okay, that's it for me. I don't want to work any longer. So we see the same problem. We have a massive exit out of the labor market.
Yeah. Just going back to your stint in America, was that kind of after your school years and you went to work out there, or did you just so you specifically went to gain employment, or did you have a job before you went to America?
In Germany we do some kind of traineeships. So it's like a 3-year traineeship. Right. In the branch. It's not a universal studies. Yeah. It's a very well-known system in Germany. So you get trained for 2 or 3 years, and then you're a trained bank clerk and so on. And I was a trained bank clerk, and then I went to the United States to improve my very bad English back then. It's more than 20 years ago.
It's way better than my German. It's way better than my German. You're fine.
Those days. So, and then after that, I started my studies parallel to my work at the dental company where we developed the practice management software system.
And it was that first exposure with the practice management software system that was your entree into dentistry. That was your first experience.
Yeah, my first my idea to go into this industry was in the United States. I say I want to work in that industry, and then I said, okay, where can I work? Is it a good idea to learn the industry, to work on the supply side? Is it a good idea to study dentistry? Is it a good idea to and one of the possibilities was to work in a software company. And I said, okay, software is the future. Software is digitalization. Every process needs to be digitalized. And so I said, okay, I want to choose a progressive way, and I choose the software company.
And the software company you worked for, was that quite groundbreaking? Was it quite innovative as a company back in the day when you joined them? Were there many companies doing what this company was doing? Because I just look at where you're at now, and you talk about the efficiencies that you bring to dental practice. Were you having to effectively create a new market for those services?
Yeah, it was back then. We had more than 60 dental software companies in Germany, and it was all around to the treatment and the billing. And in Germany, you have a quite complicated insurance backend. You have more than 350 insurances, and you have some strict laws to it.
Flip.
So the first approach was to help the dentist to get to get a good handling
To make
with
sure he claimed properly.
insurance with the insurance companies. So you make the treatment, and you get paid for it. So this was the first picture, the first aspect of software. Now, 20 years later, you need a lot more software. You need the ERP system, so you need all the things where you plan your resources, where you plan your materials, your hygiene, all the processes, all the tasks for all the staff. And then you have the patient. This is a customer relationship management. You have the patient. You need to treat the patient. You need to get billed. You need to get paid for the patient, and you need to recall the patient. So you have these two systems. And the big problem in Germany was that over all these years, the software companies earned so much money just with the treatment and the billing, so just with the CRM side, that they just cashed out, and they didn't do a further development on the software system.
Right.
So we have on all of the rest, all of the ERP side, there was zero development in 20 years.
Wow.
So the practices don't have any chance to gain their productivity through the years, besides educations and better handlings of the stuff. So just right now, in the last, through the COVID years, the companies started to develop tools to help them in the ERP backend.
And German dentists, like UK dentists, have started to become a bit more of salespeople, whereas they're now starting to present treatment plans. It's interesting. So it was all privately funded. Is that on the insurance policies, or was there any government funding in there at all?
The market in Germany is 30 billion. You have 50% of it, so 15 billion are government financed, and 50 billion are private financed.
Oh, okay.
So you have every citizen of Germany, every people that works or lives in Germany don't need necessarily be a German German citizen, is insured.
Right.
Is have the basis insurance. And with the basis insurance, all the teeth treatments are in there. And then you have the possibility to change your insurance system to be private insurance.
Right.
Then you get some money from the state, and you pay the rest
so you
by
sort
your
of top
own.
it up with your own bits, right?
On top. And then you have the chance to get better treatments. This is a very big picture, so it's way more complicated than I explained to you right now. So, and this private insurance companies, they are much cheaper when you're young. So when you're 20, 25, you pay 1/3 of the general health insurance system from the state, and when you're later, you pay double or three times the public insurance policies.
Wow. And I imagine, going back to your point about software,
That's complicated then,
I was
isn't
just
it?
about to say, from a practice management point of view, I assume you need to reconcile who you're being paid by, what you're being paid for, making sure you're actually being paid. So I imagine that's quite a complicated business management tool, because compared to the UK system is relatively straightforward.
Yeah.
We have NHS and private. And private comes in a couple of different ways, but typically with private, you either receive a regular monthly direct debit from your patient, or it's pay as you go. So when they come in, they pay when they receive their dentistry. Or the government-backed NHS system is you receive a monthly amount into your bank account, and it's roughly the same amount every single month, and that comes in. Those are the only two systems. And if you have an insurance-backed scheme, typically that would be, sometimes the practice might get paid, but invariably it gets paid to the patient, and then the patient pays. So it's nothing like as complicated as the system that you've just described.
Yeah, I see.
Especially with volumes, isn't it? You know, if you think that all those transactions you're claiming, unless you've got something to actually manage it, you're definitely at odds of not claiming something that you should be claiming for.
Yeah, it starts to make sense now how your group has grown and evolved, that you're looking for efficiencies. You're looking to try to free the dentist, the clinician up to see patients, and you're looking to try and take care of those back-end efficiencies through software. And you kind of, it looks to me like that's kind of how you're growing. Because I know when we spoke before, you talked about your inventory, your stock management system as well, which again is another great example of how it frees the dentist up to do more dentistry. And I think we're seeing AI and other tech coming into dentistry that is meaning the dentist can spend more time talking to their patient, which ultimately is where they're gonna make their money.
Yeah, absolutely. So you need to free them that they are able to work, to be more efficient. But what I need to say is that the dentists are able to delegate a lot of their treatments to their employees as well. And in the last couple of years, they started to develop practice management system, practice managers, CEO of a practice. Since 2015, they're allowed, investors are allowed to get into the market and buy dental practices. So we have some big DSOs in Germany as well, and they try to make the system more efficient as well. But overall, we have the 30 billion in the market who get spent for dental treatments year by year, and this amount is growing every year about 1 to 2%. So in Germany we have pretty good figures on the 0 to 3-year-old, 3-year-old to the 11-year-old, and the 11-year-old to the grown-ups. So the figures, how the treatment, and it's counted, so it's like 1 to 3 years. They always count the holes in the teeth, how many teeth have a hole, and you have unbelievable low numbers. But when you look into the numbers, you have 85% of the 0 to 3, they have 0 holes, and 15% have 5 holes. So you have a growing population who don't get access to the dentist, who is not, there's a lot of immigrants, a lot of people where the parents don't care about their kids, and this is the problem we need to handle the next couple of years. But the general dental treatment, I must say, I think it's pretty good.
It's a big amount, isn't it, compared to probably the UK's? I can't remember what the UK budget is, but somehow I think it's significantly cheaper than 30. I know that's euros, but that would still, what's that, about 25 billion sterling? Yeah. I don't think the market is 25 billion, do you?
I wouldn't have thought so.
I'd be stunned if it was.
Christian, you were saying about DSOs, so in the DSO kind of phrase is creeping into sort of English language now. We would typically have talked to them about as corporates, but corporates, DSOs. Are they making an impact in terms of German dentistry, in terms of ownership? Because I think in the UK, we're probably around about sort of 30-35% of dental practice
Really?
are owned, by either a large DSO. So we have some quite large groups that own, multiple hundreds of practices. And then we have others that are down in the sort of tens.
Twos or threes.
But like I say, the corporate side of dentistry has grown quite a lot in the last probably 10 years, although
it's shrinking a bit now.
Yeah, it seems to have kind of hit the buffers a bit. It's definitely slowing down. And we were talking to one of the other businesses we have is a commercial finance company, and they do quite a lot of work with pharmacies. And the pharmacy market at the moment is unraveling. So the corporate owners in pharmacy are disposing of their portfolio because they've realised they can't make it work. And there's the early signs that on the DSO side in UK dentistry, it's not quite as active and as bullish in acquiring practices as it was. I was just interested to hear what the experience in Germany is like. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's very interesting. 30% of the market. These are crazy figures. So, when I understand it right, do I understand it right that 30% of the UK practices are owned by a DSO?
Yeah. But they can be very small. So it could be like me owning two.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's probably, I'm trying to think, probably 1,000 practices between maybe
half a dozen,
3/4. I'm just thinking Bupa, my dentist, Portman. You probably got 1,000 in there, and then the rest of them are all pretty smallish ones. It's an interesting change. But as Andy was saying, one of the things that we've seen, 'cause obviously we valued and sold them, is that the ones, especially in the areas that they can't get dentists to, you're back to the recruitment thing, they're disposing of because basically they can't run them and make any money out of them. How many practices in Germany?
So we have 45,000 practices. Out of the 45,000, we have 10,000 big practices, so with more than one dentist. Wow. And out of these 10,000 dentists, you have around 800 to 1,000 practices who are in a structure for an investor. And by it's maybe like 800 or 600 to 800 are owned by an investor, right. And the rest is owned by bigger.
And that 45,000 practices, that's actually a dental practice with a dentist in, or
exactly.
Wow,
exactly.
That's interesting because you were saying that did you say there were 70,000 dentists in Germany, of which 45,000 work in kind of dental practices? So there's obviously the army and the hospital. So in the UK, we've got 42,000 dentists, but that would include hospitals, armed forces, and we only have 11,000 dental practices. So, there's 11. It's actually a very hard number to give an exact figure on for different reasons, just because of the way they're measured.
11, 12.
It's about 11, 12,000. Really. But when you work that back, that works out to be about 1,600 people per dentist in the UK. However, I know that our population is about 67 million. Yours is about 83 million, something like that.
Yeah, 86 million people.
It's a bit bigger, but you seem to have a lot more dentists and a lot more practices available to your population.
I know a lot of the practices, as you were saying, are they sort of like single person dentists? So it's like, some bloke in a little town or a town that is just his only practice.
Exactly. Yeah, you have them overall. You have them in every little village. You have a dentist, and it's quite convenient, even especially for the. You see, the people are all getting older. So you have in the demography, you have a lot of people who are like 80, 90, who are out of working, and they are unable to have a big mobility.
Right. So you need local.
They need to get treated close to the place where they live, and this is a big plus because you have the big problems with the people who are getting very old, that they get like in the hospitals, when the people are getting out of the hospitals, are in their senior homes. So not in their home again. I don't know how you
our care
retirement
homes, same sort of
I
thing
think.
we'd have. Yeah.
So our phrase would be domiciliary, where a dentist would go and visit a patient that wasn't able to get to the practice. Yeah,
Exactly. And there are some figures actually in Germany. They get brushed their teeth once in a week.
Wow.
In this kind of homes. And they didn't know it until it was researched. And this is a problem.
Isn't it remarkable
People
in a
die
very
so
civilized state like Germany? And I'm sure that happens in England as well. I'm not just I'm sure it happens here, but it's remarkable in what we consider to be very well developed countries. There's still people who are only brushing their teeth once a week.
Yeah.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah, exactly. And like, what would you say if they or Chris, when they say, okay, give $50 a month, and we and your parents are in some kind of a home, and we make sure that we at least brush the tooth of your parents once a day. So, and this is a big problem. Nobody knows about it, but as long as the people are not in this kind of treatment centers, seniority homes, it's very important to them that they have the mobility, the flexibility to have a dentist like 2 miles around of their home. And this is a big plus. And I hope they will stay in the land.
You want that community,
because
don't you?
it helps us.
Christian, do those
helps us a
practices
lot.
get subsidised in any way? Do they get any government grants or anything like that to serve the local community? Because I imagine from a business point of view, if you're in a small village where you're looking after an elderly population, financially, it's probably not that rewarding. So I didn't know whether the government supported.
One of the questions I was going to ask is, would there be an average sort of revenue for a practice like that? You know, is it, or is it that quite hard to come up with a sort of an average? You know, is it 150,000 euros or 500,000 euros? Because I don't know the price of treatments.
So you have the figures say overall the average in Germany is on 1,200 patients you have one dentist.
Right.
In the big cities like Hamburg, Berlin, Munich, Cologne, you have like 400 to 450 patients on one dentist.
Wow.
And on the landscape, you have 2,000 patients on one dentist. So the big picture is that you make more money in the landscape in comparison to the cities.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, and even in the land, there are some landscape in Germany who are beautiful, but nobody lives there anymore. Then the government writes you a check. Here are 300,000 euros. You need to stay there for like 10 years, and you get every year 30,000. Or we buy you the house, or we give you the landscape, and you can own it, but you need to have your practice there. So there are some programs since a long time, since like 20 years. Yeah. So since I'm in the market, I know these programs, but the due to the land side that you earn in average more than in the cities, it makes it for the practice owners attractive to be on the land side.
Taking aside these kind of very landscape, rural-based practices, in the UK, the average size practice has 2 or 3 surgeries, so 2 or 3 rooms with a dental chair, and that practice would typically generate income of about £700,000, roughly, about 850,000 euros, something like that. Is that quite typical? Does that compare reasonably well with the German practice?
Yeah, the German practice in average do like 450,000 euros in revenue.
Is that per surgery?
And
or is that the whole practice?
No, for the whole practice for in a year. Are you talking just about the surgery specialized practices?
Yeah, so let me explain. So a surgery, so by our definition, a surgery is a room that has a chair in where you can treat a patient, and then the dental practice might have 2 or 3 surgeries. So there'd be 2 or 3 dentists working
sort of general dentistry.
Yes, general dentistry, and typically we would expect each of those surgeries to produce about 250,000 sterling, about 300,000 euros per surgery. So that's kind
running
of
full time.
a fairly typical practice. That would be a good performing practice if it was at those numbers. So a 2 to 3 surgery practice would be about 700,000 sterling, about 800,000 euros income, something like that.
So surgeries are for you a dentist who's doing surgeries, right? Okay, now I got it. In Germany, you have a mixed picture. You have specialized surgery practices where other practices send their treatments to these practices.
Like implantologist or an endodontist or perio, something like that, right?
Exactly, and then send you the patients back. So as a normal non-surgery dentist, you have the chance to after the surgery and the patient is coming back to you with an implant. You put the cons on it. You
same as here, isn't it? There's practices like that here.
Yeah, and so you have shared revenue in this case. So the guy who put in the implant makes their money, and as a normal practice, you make the money too. To the figures, as this kind of specialized practices, you earn a lot of more. So, but it's not that for these kind of practices, you make in between 700,000 and 1 million euros a year. And normally you have in this practice 1.5 people in average.
Okay. Typically, and sorry, we're asking you loads of questions here, but what would an implant typically cost in Germany?
Implant with a prosthetic, with a verse.
Yeah. So surgery to place it, and then the restoration on top. Yeah.
Okay. You pay in between 2,000 and 5,000 euros.
Oh, so it's similar because ours is about 2,000 to 2,500 sterling. So,
yeah. Yes.
You get some people who do the really cheap ones, but everyone's a little bit dubious as to are they ever actually going to work.
You have some geniuses here who treat like 99% non-Germans, and they fly all from the world to let them treat them. They take like more than 5.
Yeah. Welcome to Harley Street.
Yeah. So you always have these guys everywhere in the world who treat
Interestingly enough, Christian, so like Harley Street and Wimpole Street would sort of be the perceived upper end of dentistry, even though we know there's good dentistry in other places. Is there a place in Germany that sort of like is the place that, whether it's like some Strasse in Munich or something in Frankfurt, is that like the hotbed of dental activity and class in Germany, where people, because people do it in the UK, they sort of say, my dentist is in Harley Street, because really they're just trying to show off. Is there somewhere in Germany they go, well, actually my dentist is in Friedrichstrasse in Munich or something?
No, you don't have the streets in Germany, but you have some people where, at least as a dentist, you've been with Otto in Munich, Otto and Mark in Munich, and then say, okay, this is best of class.
Okay, that's interesting, isn't it?
So everybody. So it's there's a implant practice in Munich, and I think they're sometimes when I've been there, and they don't let anybody in because 2 days before they close the parking spaces because the security of some leader of some some Eastern Europe country is coming for the treatment. So I saw everything there, and so you have always these stars. The same at your place.
I was going to say, I think every country's got them, haven't they? They're sort of superstar dentists.
Exactly.
I know we were fortunate.
And we have them as well as you guys.
I mean, we've been very fortunate through the podcast to talk to lots of dentists that operate at those levels, and they just behave and think differently to many other people. We were fortunate. We spent a couple of days with Miguel Stanley in Portugal early on in the year, and we saw his practice. and just the level that he kind of operates at. And he's very vocal and he's very proud because he looks after Ronaldo. Ronaldo is one of his patients.
And Madonna, I noticed. Did you see his Instagram post of Madonna?
But you do. Like I say, in every country, there's always going to be those people that operate like that. One thing that stood out for me as well, just sort of moving away from kind of the comparing thing, but more about your services, is you have this summer school that you've developed, which I find interesting because most of your services are very software-led and they're about efficiencies and technology. But over the years, I know when we spoke last time, you told me about this kind of Opti summer school where you kind of effectively help the next generation of practice owners. How did that come about and what does that look like? Because it's a week long as well, isn't it? Which sounds incredibly ambitious.
So we have 32 dental schools in Germany, and all 31 of them are free. So you don't have to pay for it. And we have a lot of very well-trained students, and they are treatment-wise, they are very, very, very good. It's a tough. There's tough studies in Germany. They need to do not at least to do all the theoretical stuff, but then they have to. So many semesters they need to do the work perfectly, and they get otherwise they get thrown out of the studies, and nobody cares about because they don't pay for the studies. The state pays for the studies, and in the study plan there is a lack of business economics. So they have no human resource topics, no marketing topics, no economics, and so on.
It's exactly the same in the UK.
So there's no different.
In the UK, it is all about clinical work, administration, the paperwork. There's no time in the curriculum available at all. So
is the dental degree in Germany the same length as the UK? Is it the same length as the UK in years?
So it's a 5-year degree.
It's a 5-year degree.
It's a 5-year degree in the UK. It's 5 years.
It's 5. It's 5, exactly, yeah. And then they have 2 more like apprentice years in a praxis.
Right.
They need to cover. And after that, after 7 years, they are allowed to establish.
Right, so we only have 1 year. So your 2-year apprenticeship is like a 1-year foundation year where they get to apply what they've learnt in dental school. So
probably 2 years is better talking to the dentists, isn't it? Because they come out at 1 year, and that guy was saying today that they quite often don't know practicals. And what we saw over all these years was that they just have no clue what they're doing in order to the economics. So they got debt from a bank. There's the bank who specialized on dentists in Germany, very big bank. So they get very easy money. They could buy an operations, or they can build up a new operations in dentistry. And then they started working. They have a margin higher than 32% in average. So they didn't need to worry about economics, and but they worried about economics, and they were afraid to take 500,000 or 1 million euros from the bank and need to take care on the families and need to take care that they pay the money back. So we saw this gap, and then we said, okay, we need to get the people who want to found a praxis. We need to get the people together. We need to bring them together for 1 week, and we make closed shops. And then on the first day, we tell them everything about business plans and marketing and how to deal with insurance companies and how to find patients, how to keep patients, and so on and so on and so on. And we started it 10 years ago. And back then we said, okay, we want to make at least one class. One class is normally in Germany 16 persons. And it started, nobody wants to come. Nobody was waiting for us. Nobody was interested in it. So we had like 2 persons, and I begged a lot of students, a lot of
other folks said, okay, please come to our course. You don't need to pay for it. We cover everything. And the first year we covered everything. We paid them €50 that they can drive home or to get a train home and so on. We give them.
So you were paying them to come.
And yeah, exactly. We did. And the second year was a little better. The third year was just a little better. And now, since 5 years, we have 100 seats. This is 6 classes with 16 people, so 98 people, 100 people, and we put them in 6 different rooms and make a program with them for 1 week. And this year we received 600 applications for these 100 seats. Last year it was like 420. The year before was 180. The year before was 140.
And have you kept this free, Christian, for the kind of the students, the people who are just graduating? Is it still free?
We kept it free until last year, year 9. This year was year 10, and this year they need to pay for it. So it was a long up ramp to the business what's in right now. So now they need to pay for it. But last year they didn't need to pay. We had 380 applications. This year we had 600 applications. They paid for it. So now, but our strategy was, we tried to get from every dental school in Germany, at least a handful of people. So we want to use them as satellites to spread our information. That they talk with the people who they studied with, and we picked out of the 600 the people who were ready with the studies, who were almost ready with their 2-year. Or they are ready with their 2 years, so that we just pick them, that we make sure that in the next 6 to 12 to 18 months, they actually. And
also, I'd have thought by bringing people in from all the different dental schools, it creates diversity. In that, if you just meet with people who went to the same dental school, you would have all had a similar experience. Whereas if you're meeting people from all over Germany, that's going to be a much more interesting group to mix with.
It's a lot of dental schools, isn't it? 32.
Yeah, it's a huge amount. Huge amount.
Yeah, absolutely. Right now it's Austria and Swiss as well. So we cover their dental schools as well. A couple of people came out of the countries. So it's a lot of diversity, and the people talk, they connect with each other. And for us, the business case is after the event, they talk with other people about the event.
It's a good store of value for the future, isn't it, as well? Because, not only are they internal ambassadors for you, but also hopefully they will go on and become practice owners, and they go, oh, yeah, I remember those guys helped me out right at the beginning. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. And right now for next year, and the Opti Summer School just finished like 3 weeks ago. Or 4 weeks ago, I think half of our seats for next year are already
what a lovely position to
be. We received so many applications right now. It will be close to 1,000 applications.
Do you keep the same number that you've only got the 100 people, or do you? Wow, that's
always 100. We could go up. We could go on 200 or 300. Maybe we do this someday, but then we need to change to another location because we don't have enough hotel space there.
Yeah, it's more complicated.
And so on and so on. And I try to avoid that as long as I can.
And do you work with other commercial partners with this?
Yeah, so I was going to ask, is there sponsors to come in and...
we need to get it costs us a couple of €100,000. And we cover it with partners. And there first year we had the first 2 or 3 years we had one partner who believed in us. And after, so we make a contract, I think with 3 or 4 years or 5 years with them. And they believed very much in it. And they got paid it back a couple of 100 times because they all became the customers.
That's brilliant.
And after that, other companies asked to join, and we ask other companies to say, okay, you you would be a great company to join, and so on. And yeah.
And do they
This
get
is
to
how it
speak?
works out over the years.
So do they get to do a slot or something, or are they just sort of there? I was just thinking the bank guys, you know, do the bank guys come and talk about finance or whatever?
Yeah, so the only thing what we didn't want it up to now was bank guys and insurance guys.
Ah, okay,
So
interesting.
that was the guys until now who said they will write the biggest check, and they always did. They say we want to be there. And they said that they pay double what the other paid. This is true, but we up until now maybe someday, but normally, as long as I can avoid it, I try to get the bank and insurance guys out of the business. But it's maybe a different system in Germany. I need it in Germany. It's a very, very big, we call it provision system. It's a system where they get paid. They make an insurance contract and they get a lot of money. So.
So in the UK, it's commission. You get paid a lot of commission for selling insurance. For selling insurance policies, you earn a lot of commission. Yeah.
And when you and as an insurance guy in Germany, it's easy for you to sell 3, 4, 5 insurances and take advantage of 3, 4, 5 commissions. And don't worry about the rest. And this is a very established system in Germany. And as long as the people can handle it in a good way, I think it's fair and it's okay. And they receive.
As long as it's ethical, you don't mind, do you?
It sounds like you also want to protect the young dentists. You know they're going to need insurance at some point, but you don't want somebody coming in and just selling lots of things to young dentists.
Don't make a fast buck.
On there are some universities already who ask us to come into their third semester, so after 1.5 years, and talk about a financial education. And like the University of Witten, they asked us to do it. We started this program last year, and I did the study, so I'm official in this university to in 10 units to explain the financial education and so on, blah, 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 blah. And in the first session, I asked, so guys, the bank and insurance guys, have they already been here? I say, yes, last semester. Second semester. So they were already in. They all signed a couple of contracts.
Getting quick.
What we try to prevent.
You're already too late.
Or what the universities try to prevent.
Christian, aside from that, what would you take? What would you take as your key message from being in business? From being a business owner and a founder of the business? If you had to give one bit of advice to anybody else who's looking to get into business, what would that be?
I think that's very easy. I think to follow the passion is just a bad joke. So it's everybody say follow your passion and do whatever you want to and have fun with it, and this will be perfect. I don't think. I think just old rich guys tell this. Yeah. And normally you need to bite through something. So you have made a topic where you're kind of interested in, and then you need to go through it on the hard way. It's for everyone, for Andy and Chris. It was tough for you guys as well. Or nobody ever, and this is just a bad joke, had such an easy way to get through and everything was perfect. No, and even these guys had their strugglings in the head, in their emotions, and so on and so on. I think everybody struggles, and everybody got their ups and their downs. And the truth is, try to be physical and emotional. Try to keep you fit and updated to get through it and follow your passion. is normally look at the guys who tell you follow their passion. They already make the money, and they went through it, and they look back on it, and they thought everything was wonderful what they did in their life, and they just did their passion, and this is just a lie, because they once they forgot about all the bad things, or B, afterwards I can explain you everything.
I think that's a really honest answer. I think you're right. I think it's really easy once you've had some success to forget how hard it was on the way.
It's like having small children.
Yeah.
Who then become big children. You forget sleepless nights and all that stuff, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I don't. So my first children at 12 and 11, I said, okay, it was never a problem with them when they were young. I slept always through. It was, I don't know what you're talking about. And even my parents say, so with you guys, no, I don't know I don't know. You make it all so complicated. It was so easy for us to it was so and so on. And we could not work. We could work besides this. We could make lunch and dinner every day.
It was easy.
And of course, we went out last night, and it was easy. And now you make such a big deal.
It's very true.
It's exactly the same.
It's very true. Christian, we could talk all day, but we need
fascinating. Really fascinating.
I think the comparison between the markets is great.
It's similar and different, isn't it? That's what I think is the exciting, the interesting bit, is the fact it's similar but different. One in size and scale, but also two in funding. It's fascinating.
Yeah, we always finish up in the same way with our guests, and we always ask the same two questions. And the first question we have for you is: if you could be the fly on a wall in a situation, where would you like to be, and who would be there?
And it can't be Nigel Farage.
Oh my goodness! Oh, Chris, you got me. I want to say I wanted to be in the room with Nigel Farage in the negotiations, and if he really thinks that. If he ever talk about figures,
they just
they
just made them up.
Did he ever talk about the rational? And I would like to have some people on the wall. No, okay, if you don't want to pick him, I pick another situation. I pick the Conference of Yalta after the Second World War with Stalin, Roosevelt, and Churchill, and the negotiations after World War II. What will happen with Germany? How we split up? What we do? And there were topics. What we now know is that there were things on the list like kill all officers, so kill all soldiers who are back then, and so on. And so there were some very, very difficult and bad things to negotiate on this conference. And what we know now is that Churchill had by far the clearest mind and had the best suggestions, and the Europe we see now is based on a very strong and very good negotiation due to Churchill. I would love to be in this room, and would love to have people next to me who listen to what happened and what has happened and how this can influence the history. And I would love to take Nigel Farage next to me,
taking a stand.
Taking a stand. Some of the guys.
But such an important conference in terms of shaping modern day Germany. You know, it's vital, isn't it, in the nation's recent history?
I must admit, I hadn't realised until I was reading some books of how hard from the end of the Second World War. And I'm going to say this: the poor old German prisoners of war. You know, some of them weren't returned until the 50s.
Wow!
From Russia, from Russia, you just think that's nuts. You know, that's like 9 or 10 years after the Second World War ended. You just sort of don't get it, really.
Stalin made the proposal to kill all German generals and officers. So thousands of people who were in prison,
it's mad,
kill them. And Roosevelt back then was very old, and he was weak at this days. Now Stalin was a strong man these days, and Churchill was strong, and Churchill did what we know right now.
That would be interesting.
Amazing.
And then our follow-up question is, if you could meet somebody, who would you like the opportunity to sit down and have a glass of beer or a cup of coffee with?
And it's not Farage again.
I'd like to pick Mark Zuckerberg and talk with him about, he made very good money over his life, and he built up a very important company. And I would ask him if he know how much harm these social network put to young boys and girls and to the population of the world, and with the fake news, with the inflection of maybe the next 2024 Biden Trump how do you call it?
The election.
With a, and if he is thinking about to prevent, or what is he thinking about with all his money? How can he make his social network more sure, get rid of fake news, and turn down all the aggressiveness, and make just a much better job for the next generation? And he already got his money. He didn't need to ring out the next billion. He needs to do a better job for the population, that we all stand together and be not separated into left and right. And I would like to.
I think I'd like to sit on that one as well.
Yeah, I wonder whether he has a sense that he had no idea of the beast he was building. I remember there's a.
Is that the one you're going to talk about?
I don't know if it's available in Germany or not, but in the UK on Netflix, there's a program called Social Dilemma, and that's about social networks. And there's a piece on Facebook.
Okay.
And there's one part where I think they talk to, or there's a camera in an office with Mark Zuckerberg, and he has a sticker over his camera on his laptop. And I remember seeing that, thinking, this is a guy who's developed a social network who already doesn't feel comfortable with having his camera visible to other people, because there's ways of accessing that information.
Exactly.
But I doubt that anybody knew that social networks were going to become as powerful as they are.
And the damage they cause.
I mean, like you say, you're talking about a general election in America, and being able to use
election,
but just being able to use influence and manipulating people in a way to get the outcome of a vote in one of the most powerful countries on the planet. It's quite remarkable, the power they've.
Was it Cambridge Analytics? Was that the one? Wasn't it? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
It's all scary.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. So no, I don't know this Netflix docu. It's not on Germany, but the guy is 39. He's such a young guy, and he can make a much better job to keep the world together and not
definitely.
It's interesting when you look at somebody like Bill Gates, who now obviously is not so involved in Microsoft having set it up, and look at the work that he's doing, trying to eradicate malaria and other conditions from around the world. You wonder if somebody of Mark Zuckerberg's age, he could devote the next part of his life to actually trying to
become philanthropic.
Yeah, trying to redress the balance in terms of how
perhaps
those
Elon
social
will save
networks
us all.
work. Yes, he might.
Yeah,
or he might kill us all.
Yeah. Or he might kill us all. Yeah, he'll put us all in a rocket and send us somewhere.
These guys are. Exactly. These guys are blessed. These guys have the opportunities to do good things, and they should do the good things.
I think it's a great point to finish on, Christian.
That's a great message to finish on.
Thank you very much indeed for your time. It's been brilliant speaking to you.
It's been fabulous. Yeah,
if you
brilliant.
find yourself in London, we will definitely go out. And if I find myself in Germany, I'll give you a call. It'd be lovely to spend some more time together.
Anytime, guys. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Not
Thanks, brilliant.
Christian.
Thanks, Christian.
Keep well. Cheers. Thank you for listening to this episode of Dentology, where we discuss the business of dentistry. If you like what you heard, please do subscribe where you found this episode. That would be amazing. And also follow us on Instagram.